Okay, I think we can start. Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. Hope you can hear me well. So there is another microphone used now. So if you're having any, if you're hearing any, if you hear any side voice, then please let me know. I will switch to another microphone then. Okay, if it's fine, then we will continue this way. So, as I promised today, I will start showing you the project work, project task, how I implement it. I will choose my own topic here, and yeah. So one more thing. I sent you, on Wednesday, I sent you the topics you can select. So each team, please select the topic. So you can use the topic suggested by me, or you can also select your own one. And so I would like maybe just to have some deadlines. Maybe this week we select the topic and each team, and let me know what you selected there. Right now I will do it on my topic. So I selected so basically again the idea. So if maybe for some of you, some of you it's not maybe clear what do we want to achieve. The idea is that we have the database, so we'll have the database, and so then the key work is based on the fetching and writing the data, changing the data to the database tables, and so we can actually apply the features we gone through in this course. So what we can do, first we can make it in using the web page. And so we'll build the web page. Let's see how many time will we have for this. So if we have maybe a bit more time, then we can try. Then we can maybe try to go through some additional frameworks. So we may apply something like Spring Boot or similar framework, web framework if we have time. But maybe if not, then we can just simply use the HTML, CSS, JavaScript approaches we've gone through. So maybe it's not so important. The key thing is that we have database. We have database tables, and we'll need to manage the data using Java code. So the input and the output will be visible on the screen. So again, for the previous course we used just the console. Since in this course we've gone through the web development, or at least the basics of the web development, so I'm pretty sure we can manage to do it on the on server using web pages, and so it will be more user friendly, and so we may say, if we do it in web. So that's the first point, and the second point is that the data can be read from the files. So for this purpose we'll use three types of files. We'll use XML, CSV and JSON files. So the idea is that the program will read the files, and based on the file extension provided, the program will process it as CSV, JSON or XML file. Also another option will be that we will also fetch data from the database and then write it to the files on our computers. But for this purpose, let's see how much time will we have. Again, the main idea is that we have the web page where we can work with the data stored in the database, and we can vault the data from the files mentioned as well. Right, so I think we can start. Again, each team please, again, maybe not today, somewhere there until the end of this week, please let me know which topic you selected. So, and then, like I said, also again, if you have any questions, you can reach me. You can ask them publicly or privately as well. Both options fine for me. And right now we will go through my example. So what will I do? I will I will use the localhost exam as my local server. So I have a local server for a database. Here I will store my database, and what will I have? I will have the concept of library. So let's imagine that we will have the website which controls the library. I mean, just the physical library with the books. And so the idea is that we'll have the library, many libraries. We'll have many libraries, not one library, but many libraries. Each library will have its ID and unique ID and the name. Then we'll have the database table of books. So there we have again the ID of the book, the name of the book, the author, and let's say and what would be a year published as well. And then we'll have the linkage table. So that's the database table where we will store the books, the linkages between the books and libraries. So let's say that if we have one exact book, then it can be linked to the library where it is placed. And since there's the option that there may be many copies of the book in one particular library, then let's say that this linkage can be not unique, and it means so for each linkage we'll have the ID of the linkage. So that's also possible. Then we will have the database of customers. So the customers of the library. So each customer, so the customers are persons, so they have name and surname, and we'll also use the ID there to identify them. So to have the unique identifier for the customer. And the last table will be the books given to the customers. So this will be we'll have the ID of the linkage of the book library linkage, and then the customer ID. So the customer who borrows the book, and also the day when the library or the book should be returned to the library. One more thing I forgot to mention is that, of course, since the book may not be available in library, then one moment, let me quickly think about it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe we can indicate. So one more thing before we start creating the database. Is we should consider the way how can we indicate if the book is borrowed or not. But in this case, since we'll have the table where we have the linkage between the customers and the books borrowed, then actually we can understand that if the data return is in future, then the book is borrowed. If it's in past, then the book is returned to the library. So we can implement this idea. And yeah, so usually, so now we have the requirement, what to do. Yeah, we need to implement the library and the way how we can interact with the library. Always, as we always do, before we start implementing any solution, we should have the database created. Yeah, because otherwise, without a database, we don't have the place where to put and where to get where to put to and where to get the book, the data from. So the first step will always be the definition of the database. Yeah, not the data, but the database. And so I will create the database and I will call it, let's say, the libraries. So this will be our main database for our project. And I will, resolution, is it, okay, I can increase it. Actually, I'm using a little bit different monitor here. But yeah, okay, that's fine. I can increase the resolution. Okay, so hope it's better now. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the database, and the first simple thing would be that we create the database table, which will represent the library as the unit. So I will name. Yeah, that may be a little bit. Okay, I think that would be strange that we have the database table of libraries inside the database libraries, but that's fine. Yeah, we could think about the name of the database maybe a little bit more, but I guess that should be fine. Maybe a little bit confusing. I agree that we have the database libraries and the table libraries, but I think that should be fine for us in this case. Okay, and the first table will be quite simple. That will be the ID, and this will be the primary key. So we define it as the primary key, so the ID should be unique. And what will be automatically incremented. This. And so AI means automatically increment. So it means that when we enter the entry to the database table, we don't care about the ID if this is so we should not just calculate the ID by ourselves. It will be automatically calculated by the database. Then we have the name, and one moment. So the name will be just the name of the library. So yeah, for the IDs, for the fields which are considered as the IDs, we cannot really use text, because for the keys we should usually have the limited number of characters. This rule is presented in lots of different databases. So for the keys, usually the length should be defined. For integer maybe not, because this is the type. Okay, let's see. Maybe it will ask us, but for integers, the length is limited by definition. If we use text, then for the we cannot really use the text without the limitation of the length as the primary key, just because that's the definition of how the keys should look like. And One more thing I did not mention, what's maybe that will be new for you, we will create the concept of external ID. And this is quite, I would say, quite, I would say it's quite interesting thing, maybe not so interesting, but quite important thing, usually used in database concept, that's external ID. Let's name it this way, or we can use underscore, and should be fine as well. Why external ID? Not imagine the case, but usually when we work with the, maybe not with the small systems, but with the large systems, when the data, where the data can be fetched from different resources. Because imagine that, so just for example, let's say that we have the real data or real web application. Yeah, let's say that that's the web application for the libraries, yeah, which stores the data from multiple libraries. Maybe, I guess the library concept is fine as well. And imagine that each library has its own database, its own system, which represents the books they have and the customers they have. And so it means that we have multiple databases, multiple sources, multiple systems, and then we have one unique system which collects all this data from different sources. Yeah, and of course, imagine that we have two databases. Yeah, so two different databases from two different sources with, let's say, similar tables. So the table would be there's the library, then let's say that there are 10 databases with the table for the libraries, where there's the ID and name. And but if we have, like, let's say 10 such databases, then there will be in one database the counter for ID will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Then for another database, the counter will also be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this case, again, we cannot use it as the unique ID in our own system, yeah, which collects all the data. But we can use external ID. So this will be like the pointer to the external source we have. Maybe, yeah, that's not maybe about. It's a trivial example where we just have ID and name. But the point for external ID is that, in general, if we maintain the data from any source, then it's good. Then, of course, even in the external source, we may have some unique identifiers like ID, and so it's that will be quite a good approach if we store this external ID, because it may be needed. Maybe not in our case. In our case, it's just a representative case, but in the usual way, let's say that we have the structure where we have the CSV files or XML files or something like this, where we also have this ID maintained by some other resource, and this maybe not integer, so that would be even better if we store it as the text. So let's say that it is limited text, and maybe we will not define it as the secondary index. And yeah, so this represents the ID which comes from the external source. And in practice, this is used quite usually. It's significantly used. So we save it, and now we have the database which will represent us the libraries. Then, as I mentioned, we will have a table for books. Okay, so this this will be the table for books, and again here I'll have the ID. Again, for integer, since the integer itself has limited number of characters, we can use it as primary key. So for integer, that should be fine. So we define it as we define the ID as the primary key, and then we also define the name of the book. So this will be text. That's not the ID, and let's say that this. Also the author, the writer. So let's maybe not create a separate table for the writers, just to not overcomplicate. And yeah, the year published. Let's say date published. Let it be. Let me the date. Just to make it more interesting, let's make it as the date, and let's maybe add one more column, and this will also be external ID. The idea for external ID is, we will use it in the way that if the external source is used with the ID provided, then the external ID will be filled in the database. Otherwise, if we just do it, for example, manually, then we will keep it empty. So let's see, we can use it as the text. Is the varchar. Yeah, so varchar. This is also the text with the limited number of characters. So if it is for keys, this is mostly used. Okay, so again, I think that's fine what we have here. So I can save and create the database. Alright, so now let's move to the linkage tables. So elements. So then we will have the books libraries. And here I will create the what will be the key as well, because again, as I said, it will represent the linkage, because we may have multiple same linkages, like in one library we may have 10 same books. That can be fine as well. And in this case, the linkage will not be unique. Library ID, and let's say book ID. So this is done. Oh no, so I accidentally but yeah, for sake. And one more thing, I will add the foreign key. So since we have the book ID and library ID, which come from different tables, from other tables, we can add such constraints. So let's do it. So the library ID, and so this will be library ID. Then we add the constraint from the database libraries. And the current database, then we select not the books, but the libraries as the ID. And let's add cascade, not delete. And let's add another constraint. So that would be the book ID as the constant, as the constraint. Again, let's do the same for the book. select database. So then I select the ID, let's save, and now everything's fine. I should have them, yeah. I have the secondary keys, which will actually be the linkage to another table. The linkage to another table. So this table is done, and now we can move to the table of the customers. So the customers. Oh, yeah, that's correct. So okay, so let's okay, that's fine. Yeah. So let's add the customer. So ID will be again the integer number. So then we have the name, which will be the text, and the surname, which will also be the text. And again, just to make it more interesting, let's add the external ID. Let it be again varchar, just to make it limited. Because again, as I said, for the keys, it's better to apply the limitation for them. So then this is done. And yeah, I also forgot to add the external ID. And so using the external ID, we can actually also identify the source from where the entry comes. Because again, if we have the system which is used as the overview for many, let's say that from maybe most popular sources for you, that maybe it's like something like so it's now web, Skyscanner, maybe Booking, yeah, Booking as well. Vault, yeah, from what we have, both. So of course these are the systems which collect the data from multiple resources. Yeah, and again, external IDs can be used to identify the keys on the external resources from where the data comes from. And in this case, since we will move the data from the files, that would be a nice idea to also put the identification there. So then again, so from where the entry comes from. Yeah, let's also add the column here. Let's okay, so here's the column. Yeah. Just missed the button. Okay, so let's have external ID here, and let's use it as the varchar 30, and here we save. And let's move on to the next table, which is the customers who borrow books. And I'll name it as customers books. So and right here I will have the linkage between the book ID and customer ID. So this will be unique key. So the book from library ID. So that will be book with library ID. I'll name it this way. So this will be integer, and so and the next one will be customer ID. So this change should be unique. And the last one will be date return date. This one. return date. So this will be the date. Yeah, so at this point we create the table, and now we will add the keys. So first of all, I will identify that. Okay, the columns are case sensitive. That's why maybe let's just not confuse ourselves. Let's change the name to the this way. And enter intent. Now let's add the key. So the first one will have the primary key, which will be the linkage between book library ID and customer ID. So I will define it as the primary key. Yeah, so to define it as the primary, you just need to select the fields you want to use as the primary key, then select primary, then the chain of these two fields will be in the primary key. And if we go to relationship view, here we can add the constraints to the book which belongs to library, and to the customer ID. So here I'll say this will be book ID. So this one, and then we go to the database, the same database library. So this will be books libraries, and the column ID. And so this will point to the particular book from the library. So then we have this constraint, and the same constraint, and same for the customer ID. Customer ID. And this will go to the table of customers. And now we save the database. Okay, data type is different. Okay, let's see what do we have. It shows that data type is different. So here we have the book library ID, that's the integer. And if we go to the books libraries, here we have integer, yeah. Okay, let's try again. Let's try again. So book library. Yeah, so that's the name of the constraint. That's maybe not so really important for us. So I have book library ID, then I go to the book libraries, right, and then I select the ID. Okay, oh, let's ignore that, let's go to the script. Save. Okay, now everything's fine. Maybe that was I accidentally maybe selected something incorrectly. It's now there. Why the constraint? It's interesting why the constraint is not showing here. That's interesting. Customer ID, and so don't have book library ID. That is interesting. Everything is the same, but yeah, sometimes it shows. It shows maybe something. Okay, it's maybe just shows it this way, but at the first stages this should not affect our logic much, right? So again, maybe double check. If no, then we can skip it at this moment and then go and then we go back a little bit later. So now again, constraints are defined same way. And so database is correct, the foreign key is correct. It doesn't show. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so maybe we'll go back to it a little bit later. For now, the key point for us is that the databases are created. So the next step would be to start creating the web application. First of all, again, I will start with the project. So I will find the web application, and then I will, of course, I will use Git to share the code with you. So again, I'll create the remote repository and share the project with you all. So let me open my Eclipse. So this would be start the Eclipse. Starting. Okay, yeah, it's still running. Let's try a little bit. Okay, here. Alright, so let's create this project. So let's start. Okay, since I need to open the web project, let me then my project. Okay. So I select it. Then it's something, and that will be our name it as demo project. Or maybe just another libraries project. Or just simply libraries. Okay, so this is fine. And this is fine as well, and we finished creating the project. No, that's fine. And yeah, so now we have this web project, and again, the first step for me would be that I share it with you and the market. So let me create the repository. There. So that would be moments. Okay. So let me create this. So yeah, I'm going to do this one, and that will be libraries. Let's not make it as one. Let's not make it as private repository. Git ignore will be added from the local repository. So now I will share this project with you. So again, the easiest way for me would be if I do it from the console. So that would be, so to my workspace, so again I'm going to show as Git repository. again command git init. So git repository is here, and yeah, I can continue from here. I can go to Eclipse. It doesn't matter because the commands again can be executed from here, and I can also use egit too. So you can select the best option for you if you would have the commands from here, or if you use egit to on Eclipse, so it's the same, right? So maybe I will go to Eclipse now, because at this point maybe a little bit more clear for everyone. So I add existing local repository. So I navigate to the folder. So this is the folder I have. And I select it, add it, and now we should have the project here. So let's maybe push the initial files. So that should be just put all the initial files. So project is initialized. Yeah, of course, I have not, we can commit, we cannot push, yeah, because remember the commit will move it to the local repository, but the push will move it to the remote repository. Since I have not defined any remote repository, we can define it now. Again, I go to remotes, and I add origin. So I configure it as push. I select the URL. And the URL will be taken from here. So this is the URL of the remote repository. I select it here, and it automatically recognizes that this is Bitbucket. It has my user and password. So I can save and push. Maybe let's just save, then we can push it, and now the project should be now the files should be pushed to the remote repository. So here we have them. Put them here, and I will also now add your users to this repository, so you can track the actions we do during the lessons. So let me add your users, and then we'll continue working on this project. So give me 1 minute, so and I will add you. So, almost done. And yeah, so now I added here to the remote repository. You should have the access. If you haven't received it, please let me know. Okay, so this is done, and now we can start our work. So at this point, the design of the web page, you can select the design you want. It's maybe not the key point here. Again, that's maybe more improvisation on your end here on my side. How will start? I will. So again, before I start the project, I will definitely use Bootstrap. Bootstrap for the design of my pages. So let's then do it. Moment. Yeah, so I will first of all download Bootstrap, or maybe I can just simply use the same Bootstrap files we used before, and then just paste them to the current project. Okay, that was this one, yes. GSPs. Okay, here I have styles. Yeah, maybe let's just copy this folder. Done. So I will copy this folder and then paste it to this project. I also have bootstraps here, and one more thing we need to do for bootstraps. For bootstrap is JavaScript, but maybe at this point we will not cover that. Maybe a little bit more. We will also cover a little bit of jQuery. Yes, so I guess I did not explain you what the jQuery is. This is the we can actually call this a framework for JavaScript used. So maybe a little bit more, if a little bit later, if it's needed for us, we'll maybe also go quickly through the jQuery framework. Okay, so for now it is done. Yeah, so now we have this dynamic project, and so we can start creating our files. So again, I will use GSPs, and then I will also use the server applications to the to store the GSP, to store the files which will then process these GSPs, then process the data, process the requests we have. So one moment. Yeah, so I will use the main folder. Web up here we'll have our GSPs, and I will start with the index GSP. So this will be our index file. So okay, it's not available here. So I will search for it here. And we always start with index files. So I am with this index GSP, and now I have this index file created. So yeah. Now let's start with some basic HTML. So first of all, I will define the style. So the style sheet will be bootstrap. So that will be styles. Style sheet. So this is the type of the relation. Yeah. So if we add the link, it means that we include the file. Yeah. So if we include the file we usually include the files with JavaScript or CSS. So in this case, we should provide the type, what kind of link we use. In this case, we use the style sheet. Means that we will add the CSV file. Yeah, and the reference would be, let's maybe refresh the project. Okay, it doesn't show in the styles, but okay, that's fine. Why you don't refresh it to me? Okay, so now it's refreshed. The styles here. So the reference will be that we go to the styles folder. We start from here, from this place. So that would be the way that we go to styles folder from here. So we have styles folder, CSS, and then we will use boot struct.css. So this is done. So now I started with the file, and the title will be libraries. So we may, maybe what else we can do, we may also add the logo just to make it more, say, fashion, but more good looking. So I'll start with the folder. So I'll create the folder. I'll create the folder here. No, I'll get web app here. So the folder will be, let's say files. Files, and start with the logos. And let's maybe add one book logo. So we can identify that this will be the web page for the library. So I'm gonna search for the logos. Oh, sorry. So let's maybe search for one logo. Let's go to this PNG. Yeah, the key point for us is to make sure that the background is also clear. In this case, I'm not sure if the background, but okay. If we have such squares on the background, it also means that the background is transparent. And it's maybe sorry. Let's go to the folder. Yeah, I will just save them directly to the folder. So this is libraries web app. This is on, and I will save the logo here. Okay, I will name it as the book logo. Okay. So, and now I can add it to our main link. So one moment. So just quickly. Oh yeah, that will also be the link. So the link, and then the relation will be shortcut icon. This icon I've shown you once. This and we shortcut icon. Shortcut icon, and that will be image PNG, and here I use the reference, and I'll provide the file to the logo. So the file is files, logos, and then you will have this file. So then let's refresh. Should be here. So that will be both PNG. Alright, so now we have the starter for our website, and maybe let's try to run the server. Okay, I don't have the servers here. Let's add the servers then. Show view. Let's search for the servers. Again, if we don't have the server, we actually don't have the place where to run the website, because the website cannot be run just locally without the running of the server, because otherwise we cannot actually parse these GSP files, and also we cannot parse these GSP files. You can build not build the website, but to write the code, the template for the website, which will have just HTML files and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. But in this case, you cannot write something like Java files. Java or just any other languages like PHP, because you actually need the environment for them to run, right? Because you cannot run just simply Java files without the special programs. In this case, there should be the servers. They should be on the servers. And so, if you don't have the option to run Java or PHP or C++, then something like that, then the key thing is that you cannot connect the database. You cannot render the pages. That's the first point, and the second point is that you cannot access the database. And if you cannot access the database, then it makes it quite hard to work with your website. So now let's run the server first. Okay, so it seems like everything is fine, and the server is started. That's for my web project. Let's initialize the server. Okay, now it will. Yeah, now it will run on the libraries. Web app. Again. Okay, now it's done. Let's see what does it show. Okay. So now it has it is placed on localhost. Let's see how does it look. Okay. So now we have the error because okay, maybe let's maybe remove this mega project from here. It's maybe not really needed for us. Then let's also restart the server. Okay, we have some exceptions. Okay, then let's again restart the server before. Continuous. Let's restart. Okay, server is started now. Let's check what do we have now. Okay, we still have this issue. Maybe let's yeah, also let's provide the library name. No, I think that was fine when we ran it the first time. So we double check it. So yeah, this one seems to be fine because we have nothing, and let's run it from here. Yeah, oh yeah, now everything is fine. So what we see now, we see that we have the title here. Yeah, everything is fine. Sorry, it's fine. So we have the libraries, yeah, as the title for our website, and we have also the logo. So now we can start building our website, but maybe right now let's have 10 minutes break, and after that we will start building the area for our library management. Okay, so let's have 10 minutes break now. Okay, let's continue. So, first of all, what will we do? We will create the let's say navigation bar, where we will have several options. So the first option, maybe let's start with two options. We'll have the navigation to the list of libraries, and then to the list of the books, or sorry, maybe to the list of the customers. So we will define the navigation bar first. So we should return to the body, and since we are using the bootstrap, we will use the container. Class, yeah. So remember that the classes are used for the not to define, but to use the corresponding style from the style sheet. In this case, I have to define this bootstrap CSS file. So we start with the container. So put all the content there, and then we will define navigation bar. So that will be UL tag, and the class will be navigation bar. So nav bar, NAV. Okay, and here we'll put two items. So the first item would be the set the libraries, and the second one will be the the books. So the customers. Or we can then add also one more library, which will be one more option, which will be the books as well. Yeah? So let's define three options. So the first one will be, so for each element we define it as li. So the class would be navigation item. And then we close it, close the tag, and then I need to add the hyperlink. So basically the link to the maybe let's not use the hyperlink moment. Let me quickly think. No, that would be Yeah, that would be fine. That would be navigation link. It should be fine. So A's are used for links to navigate to somewhere, and okay, since we don't have the content, let's have the content first. Here we add the text we will navigate to, which will be displayed. So the text will be libraries. So let's say all libraries. Maybe just have the libraries. So the class is navigation link, and then the ref, this will be the link to the page. And so we define it as b slash, and this will be libraries. Then we will do the same for the customers and for the books. This is well, the formatting does not work well here. Okay, something is better. I don't really like the formatting for the GSPs used by Eclipse. Again, no, nothing to do here. So let's just use it as is. Okay, maybe as it is, then no, sorry, not so of course customers, and then the last one is for the box. So space, nothing but here. So this is what will the text which will be displayed. Let's then refresh and see, but not this one, sorry, this one. Let's refresh and see what do we have. Okay, we have something which is not which does not look well. So then let's do some adjustments there. So let's check if design is correct. So we have the container class. That's fine. That should be this way. Oh, sorry. Let's also add I forgot to add the class for the navigation bar. So remember, we have the divisions, so everything, every tag for the division should also be closed. And this is navigation bar. Yeah, I guess I forgot to add this tag. Should be here. Let's check now. No, still we have this this view. Let's see if there's something is linked. If we have at least one style here. Okay, so at least it works. It looks fine. If we have the mobile version. No, it seems that it is not used onto the bootstrap. Let's see if we have the source. Yeah, so we have the source here. And this looks... one moment, let's maybe check one thing. Yeah, I think we should add the slash here, not slash here. check it now. Hope that this is fine. Oh, okay, yeah, seems better. Oh, or not. Okay. Something is aborted. Why? Okay, no, but I think the previous version was fine. Moments. Yep, this version is fine, yeah. And yeah, it should also be fine because we have this shortcut. Yeah, it should be fine as well. It should be fine. So it means that some more styles needed to be added. Okay, let's double check how we used it on the previous web project. Usually this is the setup we do at the beginning, and then do not repeat it. So as you remember, the previous project we had it. It's here. Let's check how we define the styles here. Okay, we use the minified version. Yeah, maybe let's also try the minified version instead. The difference between the minified version and the simple version is that the minified version has some more generic names, and this is because it's still the same. No, okay, maybe then we may have the issue on the definition here. Okay, so let's maybe move the container here. So we have the navigation bar first. That should be fine. Then we have the container. Yeah, that should be fine as well. No. Okay, then we maybe need to define the container by ourselves. One moment, let me quickly check it. So one moment. Let me quickly double check. Yeah, because for the styles, sometimes some things may not look the best way. Okay, so moment I found the solution I previously reused. Maybe let's add. I will maybe add some more links here. So okay, for minified version that is fine. Maybe let's also use not minified version. And I will also maybe use the script. Okay, yeah, let's maybe also add the script for JavaScript. Bootstrap used, because Bootstrap also works with, okay, still same, but maybe let's let me again double check it. Okay, we have navigation bar. Let's maybe container wait. Navigation bar and navigation bar default. So I add the CSS classes here to be used. Right, so this is 24. Let it be. Then let it be now navigation bar header. So we will And maybe let's just better use not UL but TIV for the bootstrap at this case. And instead of using navigation items, maybe let's keep using this approach. Oh no, so I guess yeah, LIs maybe not needed for us in this case. So this will be this way. And so moment, let's quickly check. Oh, this LIs can be used. Yeah, I think we can keep LIs here. Let's maybe check what do we have now. Okay, now at least it looks better. Okay, we have one error, that's not good. Okay, it requires jQuery. Yeah, for Bootstrap we need to have jQuery. So I also add the link to jQuery here as well. So also for the if you link if you use JavaScript files, then please be careful where you place them, because sometimes it's required that because one JavaScript file may use another JavaScript file, and at the end they will interfere with each other, and there may be the issue that from one file the logic from another file will not be seen, just because the sequence how you add them is different than needed. So be careful how you add them, because sometimes the sequence how the JavaScript files are provided may be important. Also, sometimes it's required to add JavaScript files under the body. And so also should be careful if it's needed, but it usually depends on what is the JavaScript file you add. So okay, now we have this list, but again I want to make it look better. So let's maybe do some adjustments. Here. So one moment. No, let's use navigation here. Not division. That's first. Okay, then if we use container, that should be fine. Should we use navigation header or just simply no? Let's maybe skip this one for the tags, for this tag, and let's add the let's use maybe this UL classes, UL tags. So that would be navigation and navigation bar. No. And we will not use the items here. No, one moment. No, we will not use these classes. Just LIs. Oh, sorry. So the first one is done. Then we will do the same with the second one. We will not use the classes here. So this is done, and the same to be done here. Right, so let's maybe check how does it look now. Okay, now it looks fine. We have the navigation bar with different multiple items here. Maybe just we can also work on the styles, but right now maybe let's move to the navigation, because if we just now press, then we can see that the customers are not available here. Also maybe let's just since we are working on a server where there can be multiple projects, we may also need to we may also need to have this link to the libraries here, to our app. So here we define the link where we navigate to. So in this case it will, it's not needed, sorry. Yeah, by default it depends, but yeah, I agree, maybe we can skip this at this point. So now we have this navigation bar, and we can navigate to the pages. So as I said, let's start with the libraries pages. So we will do it in the same way as we did before. So we will use these we will use GSPs for them, and we will also start with the servlets for them. So one moment. Just let me do one thing. Okay. So let's define the servlet. We'll define the servlets for all these classes, all these pages. So we will that's not that one, this one. So the same as before, we will create the servlet. So here, and we define the servlet. Let's start with the packages. And maybe again I will use one main package. Maybe we can also name it. Let's name it as the pages, because we will also have the logic to process the files. So for this purpose, let's define it as the pages. So and here, not the class, but we will directly define the servlet page. So we define the servlet page, and we'll name it as let's start with the libraries. So name all libraries. And now it should be here. So it is named as all libraries, but I will maybe use it not as all libraries, and just simply libraries. Or we can also change the link here. So here. Let's change it to all libraries. Let's remove the spaces, and let's also restart the server, and let's see that now the link is correct and we can navigate to this servlet page. So let's restart the server. Start the server. Okay, and let's try to navigate the libraries. Okay, so it doesn't navigate to the libraries. Let's quickly Let's quickly double check it. Oh yeah, of course we need to provide also the project name. So let's do it. We should provide a project name. So let's check now. Okay, now it will navigate to this server page. Everything is fine. Then let's start with. Let's also create the servers to other pages as well. So okay, since we have the servers, let's also change the links here. So this will define the link where we navigate. And so I will paste and then define the corresponding servlets after that. Yeah, so again, GSP, this is our main page. The servlets are needed to prepare another pages. So we will do it, and now let's define them. Let's define other pages as well. So this is the second page, and I will call it the customers. Customers and okay, it is here, and another one will be the books. Not yet. Now. So now I should have the servlet renderers to all my navigation items. So then let's restart the server. So we will start it. Navigate to our page again. So the libraries work, then the customers works, and the books works as well. Right, so now we are ready to render our pages. The first option for us will be just like so for libraries. Let's start with the libraries page. So we will we'll create the GSP page where we will display the libraries, and then we will load it from our servlet class. So then I create this. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I create this GSP from here. So GSP, and so I will define it all as all libraries here. Okay. So now I have this GSP. Maybe change the title. We can maybe a little bit later we will also define it as the not as the whole page, but as the fragment of the page. Yeah, maybe I will show it a little bit later, not today. So right now, maybe let's just define the body. Yeah. So we'll define the body, but first we will load it from here. So as you remember from servlets, we can actually load the GSP. So let's and do it. So as you remember, it calls to post and do get. So maybe we'll use the post method as the main one, and from here we will call no, so not from here, but from the get method we will call to post. So yeah, I'll do it this way. So the post. Yes, I mostly work with the posts, and that's why we'll use it as our main method. And from here, let's render this GSP view. So that will be request this picture, view, and I will create it from the request. So that we get request this picture, and here I'll provide this this new name. So this is all libraries .jsp. And at this point, we will just simply forward the request to the response. Okay. So let's check what do we have now. Okay. So now it should navigate us to this library, to this GSP, and yeah, maybe we will add the logic for other page a little bit later. But first, we will start with this all libraries. Again, since right now we don't have any data in database, so we will start maybe with not showing the libraries, but all libraries, but we show with the option where we can actually add the library. So yeah, then let's start with this option. Again, I will add this navigation bar a little bit later, but so first maybe let's start with this input, what's the input here? So one moment. Yeah, so maybe I'll just quickly search for the best, not best, but for the appropriate input style we can apply. So then maybe let's use some bootstrap classes here. Okay, maybe we will add. I will show you how we will add bootstrap. Maybe let's add bootstrap right now. So again, I will start this bootstrap. Moment, let me think. No, I think that should be fine. And what's now in the body? We can actually use the input. And the input will obviously be under the form. So first of all, I define it as a container. So this is better to store the data in the container when we use Java Bootstrap. And from here I will, of course, add this form. So we'll add this form. Action. And the action will be the same, the current document. So this will be this one. The current, not document, the current page. So right now we will just add the library to the database. So this one is here, and yeah, now let's add this input field. Let's create this input. So the class will be the role, because to control it in an appropriate way. And yeah, so here we have the label. So the label I provide for what we want to add the label. So that will be library name. The library name. And then we'll add the input. It will be the name, and the name will be, of course, this one. And yeah, that should be ID for the local, for the usage. Again, what's the difference between ID and name? Name is used when we do the request. Again, as you remember, to navigate in between the pages. When we use the forms, then the fields, the data for the fields are moved, are described using the names. But when we do some local things, like if we work with labels, let's say, or the JavaScript, then we use the IDs to access the field. So now we have this input here, and maybe let's see how does it look like. So let's refresh, let's go here, and yeah, so now we have this input field. And also, yeah, at the end, let's add the button. And the button will be the insert. So default type will be submit, so maybe just confuse yourself. So let's add default type. Let's also write this default type. This will be submit, and the class for this button, again the style we define, the button success. So insert, and here we'll insert the library. So in this case, when we press insert, it will trigger the the request. And yeah, of course, since I don't provide the method name, so we'll usually use the post. Then again, if we don't provide the method name, then it will send the parameters to the. So for a moment, but in this case, let's say the library name is test library. Then it will send the parameters using the query. So using the URL query. So then it will simply send the parameter to the same page. If we use post, yeah, again in a moment it shows. Maybe let's double check. Let's show it again. So we have the network here. We insert the test library, and in this case it only sends the it only uses this this library name as the query. And again, if we use, as I mentioned for you before, when we use the method post or get, in this case let's use post, then it will send data. Yeah, please don't forget to refresh. test library, it will send it using the post method, and the library name will not be available under the query, but it will be available for the program to process it. Then, so now we have it, and we are ready to move it to the database. Also for the name, yeah, it's also maybe important to add the name for the button. And why it's important? Because right now, as you remember, we just have only one parameter, which is library name. But I want to, in backend, I want to see if I actually pressed this button, not anything else. So, and in this case, I can say this button name will be insert new library, and then this one. And then if I refresh that, we need to refresh, otherwise the HTML will be different, will stay the same. So yeah, and also if you you should have this inspect element opened to actually track the network changes we have. Not network changes, but network actions we have. So if you go to press library, then I go to my post method. Yeah, and I can see that this insert library is here. So what does it mean? It means that I pressed this insert library. So now in the backend I can distinguish, I can determine that I actually pressed this exact button. So, and now we can actually start building our project to add this particular entry to the database. One moment. Yeah. So let's now move to the servlet page. So this will be the post method, and in this do post method we can actually we can start updating this database. So I will start with the creation of the method, the public private void, and this would be, let's say, add new entry. So I will add the request here. And new, yeah, let's do the entry. And yeah, so I will call it from here. This request, and yeah, I'll do it only if we pressed the button. So again, I can. So here, under the request, I will have all the elements which come from the request. So let's then check it. So if request get attributes. So the attribute is the attribute is the button name. Oh, yeah, the button name. So this one. Oh, sorry. Let's maybe pause it right now. We don't need it. Yeah, this button. If the button is pressed. So if the button is pressed. So if the request, so the attribute will be, all the attributes will be given as the strings. So if the attribute exists, so it's not null, then we call this add new entry Add new entry library, and from here we can actually start writing our SQL code. But again, before we do it, let's also maybe convert our project to mainline project. So that we convert to mainline project. So now we will have PR file, and we can also add the dependencies to it. So, and here I will start with SQL dependency. So let's take it from the previous project we used. So right here, it's my SQL dependencies. So let's add it here. Right, so now it will be loaded. Right, and now we can read it. So let's then write it. Yeah. So as usually we use try catch, define the database to work with the database. Why the formatter does not work? Oh, the formatter works fine. Okay, and let's maybe also make a step trace if something is wrong. And so, yeah, now let's connect to the database. So for name, as usual, I will define this MySQL class here. Oh yeah, CDBC and the driver, and I'll define the connection. Oh yeah, first let's define the connection. Let me think. Yeah, let's maybe define the connection here. Okay, private connection. Just need to import this class, and now we can initialize the connection. Yeah, maybe just to be more correct, let's maybe create another method which will initialize the connection. Yeah, so maybe let's move it to this method. So just because we will have multiple methods for the database update, and just not write the same object twice. So let's initialize the connection. So the connection will be from the driver manager, and so basically the same as we did before. The driver manager get connection, and the connection will be from the GDBC MySQL, the address for my localhost. So that's the one I run nice app. And let's provide the database name. So the database name is the libraries. Right, then the username and password for my database is quite simple. That's just root and just empty password. Okay, so now this is done. And yeah, also let's pause the connection. Or let's maybe do it from the for one method, for one Oh, maybe we don't need to. Oh no, maybe let's use it. Because yeah, so we will also use the we will also commit the changes here. So that will be this connection close. But before again, we will also commit changes, and then we need to use try catch here. Excuse me. So yeah. Let's go over here. Oh yeah, there's no close try. Try is not closed. Let's print the stack trace. So close connection, this is done. And this is done as well. Okay, so now it's fine. Now it's fine, we initialize the connection and we can close the connection. So I will call it from this method. So if I'll check if this connection equals null, then or no moment, no, let's just simply initialize let's just initialize the connection at the beginning. So we'll initialize the connection, then we can do all the actions we want. Yeah, and at the end, let's also close the connection. Okay, so this is done. Alright. One moment. I don't like one thing. I don't like that we have try catch here. Why? Because maybe for closing connections this may not be the issue, but this will definitely be the issue for the wall processing. Why? Because if we catch the exception here, we will not know at the further processing we have here that we have an issue. So to skip this issue, we will define that the method throws the exception, and we will use try catch here. The same as here. I'll use that throws the exception. We can be more detailed and just say that it throws SQL exception. So maybe, but again, if it's fine if we define it throws exception here. And so, yeah, so I'll then do the same here. I say that, no, it's not needed, but the initialize connection. And I'll try catch here. So, and right now we can be sure that, I think this one will be better. We can be sure that nothing will go in the way we do not expect. So let's go stack trace in case of any issues. And now we don't have any errors. Right, so we added, now let's write this SQL query first. Alright, so now we are ready to create a statement. So let's say that we have the statement. Oh, no, sorry, not this one. But then this statement. And this will come from the connection, where we will create the statement. Create prepare statement, of course. Prepare statement done. This one, and so, and here we will find SQL queries. So the query will be not select, but insert. let's maybe just to not miss anything. Let's go to this page. We'll update. We'll insert into library tables. So let's say that if I insert query here, so it will look this way. So I can just simply try to copy paste it in something similar way. So this will be inserted into libraries. Then ID will not use. We will not provide ID, of course, because this will be automatically implemented. So we just simply will only provide the name, and we will not use external ID because, as I said, external IDs will be used only for the external files, like again if it's CSV or XML or JSON. And so I will simply keep the name here, and the value will be the question mark, which will be provided during the next. Of course, we should say that it draws the exception. And now we can set integer. So not set integer, but set name. One moment. First statement and I should. I should have the method. Yeah, sorry, my fault, of course, not statement, prepare statement, yeah, since I just upcasted it to the, to the statement interface, and that's why I didn't have this, method, of course. Of course, it should be prepare statement instead, and then I can set string. Yeah, that's correct, the first parameter, and then the string will be the request, and here I get attribute, and the attribute name is, as you can see from here, this should be this input, and here we have the name. So this one. So it will come from here, and then we will read it, and then it should be here. So what's the problem? Why it's object? It should not be the object. We can actually. Okay, one moment. So let's. Okay, maybe that's. But okay, since this is the. Yeah, which we can cast it to string, I guess. This should be fine. This should be. Yeah. Or moment, maybe let's. Oh, sorry, not actually the parameter, of course. Yeah, sorry, that, so the confused, not attribute, but parameter. I think we don't need to the casting here. And the same here, yeah. Let's maybe don't use the attribute, but let's use the parameter. Or no, maybe let's try with the attribute, and then we'll move to the parameter if this doesn't work. Alright, so now we set it, and we can execute this SQL statement. Alright, so let's check what do we have now. So let's refresh. let's say that the library will be, say, the really central library. Just, let's say, no, okay, the central library. So we executed the request. Let's see if something is updated. No. No, nothing is updated, and that's because we have the exception. Okay, can commit or not commit is true. And so let's, first of all, let's set the auto commit to false. So go to issue. And of course, let's set auto commit to false. That's for sure. And okay, that was the mistake. Yeah, we missed. And let's maybe check once again. So first, maybe I will clear the console. And let's try again. So let's say that in the central library, we insert. Let's see. Okay, still nothing is added. Let's maybe check the, okay, we don't have any errors. That's interesting, but we have this library table. Okay, I guess I got the reason, I guess. Yeah, that's because here we have this attribute. Maybe let's try to use the parameter here, not the attribute. Let's see now. Central library. Okay, still the same. Okay, we have now the issue, and the issue is the legal state exception, and it comes. Is this really? Oh no. Okay, that's fine. Okay, it doesn't have default value. Okay, so it means that the external. Okay, but in this case, I think we missed one thing. We can define it as it can be null by default. Yeah, that was the issue. It is complaining that it doesn't have this. It does not allow it to be null. But in this case, let's say we can also have another option. We can, I guess that's fine. We can, another option would be that we maintain it as just empty space, or just empty value. So maybe let's just hard code this empty value. Yeah, we can skip using these quotation marks because they are needed just to escape some characters like spaces and so on. So maybe just not use them. The external ID, and I can skip using the question mark. I will just simply use the empty space here. So the empty space would be this way, or just this way. Okay, maybe let's use the question mark, and then let's set it up as the empty space here. That would be easier without using any special characters here. So we have the external ID here. Oh, I have default no. So in theory, let's maybe check. Yeah, so since it's defaulted as no, let's maybe check then what happens there. Yeah, because the idea is that it may have default value no. That's maybe fine. Okay, let's try what we have now. So listen to library. Do we have any exceptions now? This seems that not, I guess. Let's change database now. And yeah, now we have this entry. And so we can see the default entry is no. So right now we can enter the libraries from screen. Yeah, so now we can enter the libraries from the screen, and maybe the last two things for today is that first of all we'll add the successful notification that the entries are updated. So to do it, the entries are added, but the library is entered. So we can go here, and let's say somewhere maybe after the form, we can add the vision. And okay, without any specific. So let's say entry is entered. So this will be the header we see. But what will I do? I will add the GSP code here. So from here I can also, as you remember, I can also request data from here. So I will then check it using GSP. So one moment. Yeah, so let's maybe use GSP here, and I will check if the entry is updated. So to do it, I will add the entry here to the response. Oh, one moment. Sorry. Yeah, the response. So then, okay, since I add the entry, then let's also add the response here. Response here, and yeah, I will also define this attribute here. Now I want to add the response that the entry is on it. So we have this execute, and so it should return, yeah, it returns true or false. So if it's true, then we add to the response that so we can then set comments. No, in fact, we can actually one moment. Let me quickly think. One quick moment. Let's let's maybe use a request. Yeah, we can actually update the request. That's a, yeah, that's as well as you remember. Yeah, we can set attribute. Yeah, that will be fine. And the attribute name will be the library is inserted. Library inserted. So let's say true. And we can now fetch it from here. So here is this GSP. So and here I can add if then request we have here. So now I actually pass the attribute from servlet to the GSP. So if I have this attribute, I maintained it from here. So if the attribute is true, so that's the problem. First needs to cast it. Yeah, so if it's not, let's say if it's not null, it's not null, and then we can cast this to boolean. So now we can cast the boolean, then we show this part. And if, oh no, we don't have and if, yeah, we just actually switching between the languages. Alright, so this is done, and let's maybe also say that we can also change the color, let's say. So we can define the style. Then we can define the color, and that would be green. So let's check now. So if we just simply run the page, nothing will be here. And so we also add something like a central library, something like that. Insert. Okay, nothing. Okay, nothing is. It's interesting. Why is not appearing? Oh, okay, we have a little state exception. Oh, but that's not about it. Let's see if the entry, okay, entry is here. So it seems that the attribute is not set. It's interesting. No, sorry, okay, that's fine. It's fine, we don't need this if here because it returns the result set, not the, we don't have any result set here. So let's check again. Say that leave first file. Okay, now everything's fine. You can see that it shows the entry. Again, maybe the quick overview. What we've done today, maybe. So since we have, as you remember, we have a session tomorrow, then maybe let's have the recap now of what we've done, and tomorrow we will continue. So today we started our project. I started it doing for my side to show you what to do. We define the libraries. Yeah, we define the libraries. We define the database with database tables we will use. After that, we also define the project where we actually implement the logic for these libraries. We start with our index page, so that is our main page. So if, again, remember, if we have index page, then we don't need to provide it here. So if we provide in this way, that will be the same if we don't provide it. This index is considered as the main page for our project, for our website. Then we define this navigation bar. So in the index GSP page, we defined this navigation bar where we can navigate between this these items. Yeah. So I can navigate. So here we have default servlet. So when we navigate, we go to the servlet. Again, the navigation is defined using href. So not here, but we have this navigation bar on the index. href, and here we navigate to the root defined in each servlet. So the root is defined here. So in this case, that's all libraries. So then it loads the servlet. By default, it loads do get. But yeah, usually we call both methods. So I will work with do post. In this case, there will be no difference. So once I go here, it loads me the servlet, and from the servlet, I call the GSP page. Here, I call the GSP page, so it loads me this all libraries GSP page. We are here. So in this GSP page, I defined this button, the input field, and then the button, which submits. So it happens under the form, and the form is needed to collect all the input fields to be passed to the request. So then I press insert, then this form is submitted, and the input field goes to the request. Yeah, again, so in this case, since I have this action which is the same page we're currently in, so it will navigate me to this page. So if I provide here another page, then this would navigate me to another page, right? A different page, not this one. In this case, since I just use the same page, it will navigate me to the same page I have now, I'm currently in. So then I will go to the servlet again, and then I will have this, it will navigate me to the do post. And here I have this request, and so the data which I provided in form, it will be located, stored under this request object. Yeah, and now we can process this request. Yeah, I process it. So if I check if the parameter insert in library is set, so this parameter comes from button. So this button, and it just points me that I pressed this button. So if this parameter exists, so if it is provided, yeah, insert in library is provided, then it means that I pressed this button, and I add new entry. So here I built SQL query, and this is not needed since we added this external, since we defined this external ID field as default, to be defaulted as null. And here I execute query. Here I set the attribute to the request, which will be available before the GSP page, before the HTML page is rendered from GSP. Okay, so, and I check it here. So it has if statement. So if statement, if this is true, so if this library inserted is true, then it will show this element. So even more, division is not really needed here. So maybe we'll use it later. Let's see. And now it will show me this content. So this content is shown if we enter this However, today or tomorrow, so for today I guess that will be enough. Tomorrow, yeah, we have a session tomorrow. We will continue this web application. So right now I will also push the changes to the remote repository, and if you have any questions, so please ask, and also please decide which topic will you be working on, so your team, and let me know again. So maybe not again today, but this week. So please decide, and then you can start your work. Okay, for today that's it. Thank you for your attention, and then meet you tomorrow then. Okay.